All right, so if you liked the die cut decoration to the side of the cube, this is how you do it. So I'm doing it with this particular die set from Sizzix. It has 2 different butterflies in it. And for each of those butterflies, there's 2 dies. One that is going to cut out all that detail, and one that is just an outline, and it's going to leave openings that you can stencil color in to your piece. So I'll show you how to do that. So I have got 3 pieces of cardstock here. One is the white piece for the side of my cube. The second one is the black matte. And then the third one is the piece that I'm going to be die cutting this butterfly out of. Now here's a trick to save cardstock. I could take a separate piece of black cardstock and die cut my butterfly out of that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it this way, is I'm going to die cut it out of my mat for the back of my, or for the side of my cube. The reason is this piece is going to go over it anyway, so you're only seeing the edges. You're not going to see the piece that's die cut out of there. Now for cardstock, it doesn't really matter. Cardstock is fairly inexpensive, but I really like doing this with fancy cardstock. If you want to do a card, say a Christmas card that has a fancy gold basil foil or silver or whatever, it can get a little bit pricey if you are cutting separate pieces, one for your card plus one for whatever die cut you have on there. Here's a little trick to do that. You die cut out of that mat. As long as your die cut is smaller than what your white piece is going to cover, no one's going to know. I've done it for years. No one ever knows that there's a piece cut out of that because it's going to be mounted. You're never going to see that die cut. So just a little tip for saving some cardstock. And like I said, don't necessarily have to do it with regular cardstock, but if you're using some fancy cardstock, it's a great way to make it go a little bit farther. So I'm using my tool-in-one to push some of those little bits and pieces out of that die. Oh, it actually just fell right out. I was gonna poke it out, but it just fell right out. I can use my little die piercer to get any of those bits that don't want to come out there. All right, I'll be back when my furnace is off. All right, silence again, so let's continue. All right, so I've got my butterfly here with all the little bits taken out. My silhouette one here actually fell out of the die, but I want to put it back in there because we are going to ink it. I've got my inks out here. I've got my piece in the die. Now all of those openings in the die, that's where the ink is going to go through. So it's a perfect way to use a die as a stencil. I'm trying to get the other side without completely covering what I'm doing here. So I just have some beautiful blending brushes. They go right in between all the little spaces on my die. I think it might have, no it didn't. I thought it may have shifted, but it didn't. All right, so I've got my pink done. I'm gonna do the blue in the center of the butterfly here. And there you go. If you want to learn more about die cutting, I do have a course on here that is all about using your Big Shot die cutting, embossing, all sorts of different things you can do with it there. So there I have my butterfly stenciled. I could put it on, I would probably put it on a different color, but I could use it as is. But I do like it with the black piece put on it as well. So I'm going to move that die, I'm going to move my paper. I am going to glue this piece on, and typically I don't put glue over the entire thing. I'll just put it over different parts of the perimeter because any of these inside bits, they're not going to pick off. It's just the sides of the, or the parts of the die cut that are going to catch on things. I want to make sure that those won't catch on anything. A little bit easier to do while you're holding it so you can shimmy it in place. Now the interesting thing is this is when you find parts of the die or different things with the die that may not have been intentional. That one little bit there didn't stencil, and I had to look at my die to see if I did it wrong, but there's actually not even an opening there, but that's okay. You probably wouldn't have even have noticed it had I not mentioned it. So now I'm going to glue my butterfly down. Onto the white piece there. Try to center it nicely. And then I'm going to glue it onto the black piece. Now because that black piece has the butterfly cut out of it, I'm not going to put glue over the entire thing because I'm going to have glue over the opening. I'm just going to put it around the edge of my piece here, just enough to glue it on, and then I can glue the whole piece onto the side of my cube. And there you go. And this would look super pretty if you see, because the die set has two different butterflies, if you did both of them twice with different colors, and then like if you happen to have a butterfly lover or whatever, you could put that on the side of the different cubes there. So there we go. That's how you do the butterfly.